Hey, today is almost 2 p.m. of May 26, 2021, and I was surprised I just turned on my computer and some of the colors seemed okay, although with the camera on now I see still some weird things going on with the screen. I asked one of the text ones, I said, is this okay to open it this way? Like, let's say favoring the right side, eventually it would cause kind of structure, kind of maybe frailties oh no, there's no other way to open it. Oh no, you can do whatever you want. This thing is awesome. Okay, that's why you guys keep coming, right? This is hey, I'm almost at 200 videos on my YouTube that are largely ignored. And look at the ones that have the most views. Do a search. Well, actually, you're on my YouTube, and what you do is you go sort by, right? There's a older, newer, and most popular, and popular is, they define it as views. So if you go with the most one, and then you actually go a couple of days later or a week later and you see how I reported what that means about you, that's the one that has the most views, it's pretty sad. So, but I've been saying that I'm documenting my own life, so this can be about my own psychohistory again in that series. And again, I'm defining psychohistory not in the Isaac Asimov science fiction way, in the the way that some people in science now understand. It's about evaluating somebody's life, and you can do it whether they're alive or dead, and it's based on what influenced them and their life choices, and it's almost like a study in biographies and how a person gets influenced by triggers or their environment or even their genetics, really. So I've been writing my own book because now you might say, well, you're compromised, it's your own book. Not if I document it as well as I did, and it includes interactions with you. So I don't trust you to write a book about me. If ever there was one, I'm documenting things. So I've been doing that for almost 7 years. So this is soon to be the anniversary of 7 years of documenting my own life, to show who I am and who you are. And it's, sometimes I don't get in trouble because I don't attack a person. I attack a culture or a species, but really what I'm attacking is ignorance and a fearsome, motivated intensity to maintain this ignorance, which I often use redneckism as a term. So today, Canadian media is showing the government saying, oh, we did an audit, the Auditor General, and she finishes, the lady, by saying, so that we can be better prepared for the next rainy day. And I don't know if I'm probably the only one who noticed how insulting that is. And then the other lady from that department, procurement, let's say, and she pretty much, it can be summarized, thank you for your report, which was so soft on us. It's pretty much what she says, although she uses the word emergency. Nobody's acting like it's an emergency. And it's an emergency of your social structures as a species, right? Including in Canada as much as anywhere else, if not more, in specifically measured ways. So, for example, I've documented my life that since the beginning, when I was stuck in Quebec, not wanting to be, because it's a province that's distinct by the fact that you are domesticated, de te faire crosser par les autres, puis de trouver ça acceptable, puis de devenir meilleur à crosser les autres. That's one of the ways I define the distinctive nature of Quebec culture. That is, slightly worse than the others, right? And you should maybe say that because you can't communicate properly there in French, and the other ones can't communicate properly in English. So it's almost like you should both give up on your own language and take, some other language. What's it called? Esperanto? I can't remember. There's another one that people started to. I never looked into it, what it sounds like. I think it's a deviation of Latin languages, but if we could all decide on that one. But again, it's you'll still be missing the motivation to communicate accurate things about the real world, which is a big part of what's happening in Canada. So I've documented myself wanting to do volunteer work in Quebec, and because I got called by putting myself on the list for a job at the beginning of this pandemic. When I was stuck there, I realized a lot longer than I wanted to be. And so they wanted to pay me a very low amount of money, to be in a higher risk situation, doing things that you don't need a high school diploma for. And I have 3 post-secondary degrees and various other types of certificates and experience and references that I just gave up on getting more references and more diplomas and certificates in the past because it doesn't make a difference. Being a polymath is very confusing to Canadians, and it's an English word. And they have access to the internet, supposedly, on their phones, but they don't want to look it up. So, and then I documented myself applying and communicating with various officials at the Canadian Armed Forces in different roles, okay? And again, supposedly, if they believe, and they must because they're on the news talking about it, that there's a pandemic or an emergency situation and they're mobilizing, is they don't want to deviate from, they don't know how to hire me because when I was in the reserves, let's say I apply for that status coming back from the reserves, it's too long ago. They would probably have insisted me doing the basic training again. So if I tell them with my age and my life experiences, no, you don't even have to train me for a gun. I don't want a gun. I'm like Batman. I can feel safe as a real man without a gun. And also, I don't really need a uniform because I can be a specialist in this way. For example, I can train people faster to be your foot soldiers somewhere, right? I can, and that's not training specifically in, how to groom yourself or fold your sleeping bag. I'm talking about let somebody else do that. I'm talking about conflict resolution, for example, and more efficient communication skills, for example, or how to behave in group settings, things like that. So, but again, I mean, the Department of National Defense or the Canadian Armed Forces, they can't adapt to what they consider to be an emergency. So again, the pandemic is all about how disconnected from reality you are as a species. The 99.6% of you, the Homo communia, the people primates, it's a disconnection from reality because you still insist on not seeing yourselves as who you are, even though that is required to make progress. So you are in denial about that, and that's one of the vast forms of ongoing developmental disabilities that you have as a species that is unable to save itself, and why, the doctor of Humanics is staying retired, because you don't know how to make use of him, no matter how much I can provide results. And I'm documenting all this. The other thing is, I recently got an email to maybe apply for the enumerator job with Census, Statistics Canada. And by the way, I was asked to leave Statistics Canada in the past when I was in my 20s, and they think it was because of something, but it was really something else. Is they weren't happy that I expected in the meetings better quality, because I didn't mind continuing the survey, but these questions are not to change things when it's already, oh my God, no, we have to wait for the next pandemic or the next, and then of course you're not in a role to do that. Your feedback is worth 0, even though it's excellent feedback, because you are supposed to just call people or do things on the computer, like data entry, or just call and ask these questions. And even though from the meetings, this is the information we're trying to get, and you are suggesting better questions, we want you to leave. That's it. Now, after that, I was still hired as an enumerator because, there's such poor communication and poor documenting of things in the public service, and I did a great job. But the last time this year, I applied last year, and the 5 year before that, I said no. I said I'm only going for supervisor jobs. And so now I get an email that says, that job, we notice you applied for that, but, it's not available now, but we're not taking you out of the bank. You'd still be available for that if a position comes up. But they didn't, I didn't go through interviews or anything. But they're trying to still recruit me, so they're trying to domesticate me. So it's like when I was younger, I was a taxi driver, and then I drove, buses, wheelchair lifts with seniors and handicapped people, and then I worked for other driving schools, and then I had my own driving school, and I had great references and respect from, road test examiners, and then I wrote articles, and then I designed a collision avoidance course, and then, I became a driver psychologist. And of course, nobody gave me that title. I just challenged me to public debate, and you'll see. So, um, so now I'm getting this public service message. Oh, would you consider being an enumerator? And it's a generic message, right? It doesn't even address me directly, so it's insulting in that way. But it's like asking you know, a driver psychologist to be a taxi driver again, and it's not doing it in a respectful way. For example, it's not saying we lack enough enumerators. I don't know. I don't think they would, because the ads are very spread out. I see a lot of them. And then what I would want to answer is, okay, I will, and I've said this in another vlog, I will accept the salary, and it's not about greed, of the supervisor and train me a little bit to take over if one fails, and I'll do that. And but the thing is I still would like to be put in situations that are more challenging. For example, more remote communities where, let's say, they pay my expenses more to do what is more challenging, and not a lot of people have these skill sets, for example, of conflict resolution. Because I believe in the concept of census. Now, I might be very disappointed when I see it and the questions that should be there or shouldn't be there based on the concept of what a census is for. Now, even if it's well done, would politicians use that information appropriately later on? And that's a little bit how it would be a waste of taxpayer money, that even if, let's say, I helped design everything along the way from the beginning of the questionnaire, and I have a lot of experience with that, and I have references from the 90s about that, then, you know, pay me that salary, put me in that role, but ready to replace another supervisor. Put me in more challenging situations where you need somebody with conflict resolution skills, not just to understand the questionnaire. Now, that's going to be my answer to them, okay? And that's my civic duty, because I can't help by, you know, être un bouche-trou, okay? I have to help with my specialties, because if I'm not helping with my specialties, then you're kind of again violating my human rights, and you're kind of still, the province of BC is still trying to collect money from me for medical care that I didn't receive and education that I didn't receive. So, you know, I'm still triggered being used more and discriminated against more. And all these things are well documented. And again, I have to take people to court to actually say, no more victimization of Martin, please. And by the way, I have the original letter that I sent to an MP quite a few years ago that said, not working out for me in Canada. I paid my dues. I made my efforts. You guys are heading in a direction that violates my core beliefs and my code of ethics. Can I leave with a little bit of support, with my head held high, say thank you, we understand? Now, if I can't get that, I don't even believe in the concept of assisted suicide from a culture that can't give me that. When I came back from traveling and I'm flagged, you know, and the person doesn't do a great job, and I'm telling them to do a great job when they're searching my suitcase, and they're getting intimidated, they're so afraid to get a complaint. I'm not sure what information they're getting about me, but I don't think I was randomly flagged. And again, I'm not a threat in any way that you understand, like to your bank accounts or violence, and I've already proven that. I have to write my own book about my life to prove this, so nobody hurts me in the future when they keep saying, this guy is, we don't understand, even though I explain everything and you guys don't want to pay attention. We don't understand this guy, he's volatile, or he could act all sorts of ways that as sheep, we don't understand. We only understand sheep. Maybe he's a wolf. Well, do you know that maybe there are other things other than a sheep and a wolf? Maybe look into that, maybe open a different book than the Bible at some point. So anyways, I wanted to say that I'm very ashamed, again, with Canadian politicians in the news who are talking in this way. Oh yeah, we'll do a little bit better for the next rainy day. And also how they're not really talking about the right things. So to resume, one of the things that I know will be in demand for the future is a combination of more healthcare specialties and also firefighting specialties. So for me, I've already tried applying in Canada for firefighter, and I'd love to apply for first responder. And I'm not sure exactly, because I haven't done enough research about how different that is than, let's say, the TV shows we watch from the United States about the different roles and the different duties, and how they vary per province. And that is a ridiculous thing about Canada is managing all the slight variations from the provinces is incredibly ridiculous, and it stems from a competitive ideology, not a cooperative ideology. So let's say, it doesn't happen in another country, which I will try to do, but let's say it happens in Canada. And say, Martin, you are accepted. You have the motivation. You're missing some science, but we know you've tutored science, so you can probably learn now that you've overcome your own challenges with learning when you didn't have support as a student, and because now you're doing the same to support others. So yeah, we'll accept you, and you'll have to work really hard, and here's the and I'll say, yes, I will join, and I will even sign a contract to stay in Canada doing that job for a certain amount of time. But again, a contract is legal if it's negotiated by both sides. And I'll say, well, I don't have any money, for example, to pay this, so it has to be that somebody else takes care of that. Now, if they want me to get back into the student loan or grant system that I've been a victim of and documented so many times, they're nuts. Because that is not a legal contract. It's like, sign here, and we can make changes to it later, but you can't. No matter what happens in your life, you don't exist as a unique individual whose lives might have taken a turn in some way because, we don't punish bad drivers enough. Let's say you get hit and you can't do that job, but you still have to pay your student loans. Whatever it is, it could be all sorts of things, like not getting the education you're promised, which is how I'll be taking post-secondary institutions to court. And I can easily prove that because all I have to do is interview them on the subjects they're supposedly specialists on. They'll get on their homework, but they'll still just freak out before they actually acquire the expertise they're supposedly already have. So, of course, I would say, well, no, you deal with that. I'm not getting into student loans because I already have conflicts that are not even finished yet, even though I have the data to prove I shouldn't be paying this. So yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. So they're going to lose me because it's money laundering. It's not education, it's not a career, it's not living a life of civic duty and value. So who needs to be patriotic in Canada when Canada is not a society that understands the concept in French or English of civic duty and supporting that particular national system? Now, if it was a national system that wasn't self-destructing, that would let me help, I guess my behaviors might seem more patriotic. But again, it's not choices about me, it's how you interact with me as well, right? I would like to help, and I've documented this in many ways. For example, how ridiculous it is here, let's say, compared to other countries. Okay, we need to do massive testing, but here we have unions and associations that make it that only nurses can put a swab in somebody's nose and then put the swab in the little thing. Nobody else has the years of experience to operate the technology of a swab. You should watch that Elon Musk sketch. I watched a Peter Holmes for the first time, and he had a stand-up show. And he has a routine where he kind of shows Elon Musk having to go to the toilet. It's hilarious. But this is kind of how you guys are developmentally challenged in this way, that you won't deviate from how you hire in the military, and that you kind of put soldiers in certain situations but won't train new ones right now. And same thing, oh no, we won't use a vet that knows how to operate a needle, or we won't use an hygienist, dental hygienist to do this, when a lot of because, oh no, they're not a nurse. So operating a swab is something they do in the dental office, so you are so ridiculous as a species, and definitely as a culture, that the best I can do is just be the really tough love messenger, and when I get a chance to interact in a way that is able to demonstrate and role model, what would an Homo sapien do, especially working with your kids, is I'll be glad to take up that challenge, and then please beg that you videotape it and make it public and not place barriers towards that, and then also hopefully ask me questions or to train more of what you consider to be your specialists when if you get over your developmental disabilities, you'll find out they weren't the specialists that you all thought they were.